The one single most critical skill your child must learn and master is reading. I can tell you right now that I've taught children of all ages to read. Many as young as 2 and 3 years old. Others are older elementary school students, and they've all progressed on to achieve similarly incredible results. Countless parents just like you have used my teaching methods to teach their children to read, and they've sent me videos to show the amazing results. The fact of the matter is, reading makes your child smarter. Many years ago, when my first child, Rain, was just a baby, we had seen this infomercial showing babies reading whatever word was shown on the screen. It looked quite amazing, and without much thought, we jumped onto this bandwagon and spent several $100s. Unfortunately, it quickly became clear that our child did not learn to read, but simply memorized word shapes. How could we expect some TV programming to teach our child to read? More importantly, this was a whole language-based method, teaching children to recognize words as whole pieces and read by memorizing word shapes. In fact, the large amount of research I had reviewed during that time had confirmed my very own first-hand experience that the whole language learning method produces poor results. Sight words are high-frequency words that should be known by sight. With that broad definition, up to 75% of all words in beginning children's print material are sight words. I have a very different definition where only words that cannot be decoded easily are considered sight words. In schools and everywhere else, children are encouraged to memorize the configurations of words. In the earlier grades, children bring home from school a handful of sight words to memorize each week, and I get a good chuckle as I skim through the sight words my kids must memorize. Using my definition, almost none of these words can be considered sight words, and besides, my children could read all these words at just 2 years old. So why is it a bad idea to start teaching using sight words? Great question. You see, English is an alphabetic language, where the words we see comprise of individual letters or a combination of letters which represent different sounds, and these sounds combine together to form the words we hear. When you teach the memorization of sight words, you are in effect teaching English as if it were an ideographic language such as Chinese, where each character represents a meaning, and the only way to learn is to memorize the shapes of the characters. When a child learns to read through memorizing word shapes, the child must rely on visual cues to try to figure out what a word is, and this quickly leads to confusion and frustration. The key stumbling block is that there are so many words with similar shapes that look alike. Let me give you a few examples. Hunt, hurt, barn, born, burn, 3, there. The list goes on. The confusion of word shapes is often a cause of reading difficulties leading to skipped, inserted, and substituted words. And so often, when I worked with students with reading difficulties, I have to first break their habit of seeing words as a whole and show them that there is a simple and effective way to figure out what a word is by its parts. Here, let's meet one of my students. Let's call her Sally. I won't share her real identity for privacy reasons. Sally was an almost 8-year-old grade 2 student. Her mom told me that she had the dreaded talk with Sally's teacher where she found out that Sally's reading ability was far below grade level and desperately needed help. Sally was literally afraid of reading because she did not understand the real mechanics of fluent, phonetic reading. Instead, she learned through a combination of sight words, memorization, and piecemeal phonics at school, and had difficulty reading even the most basic words. I first had a talk with Sally's mom, and during our friendly chat, I could hear the anguish in her trembling voice and see the hurt and desperation in her eyes. All she wanted was for her daughter to read well. Being a father of 4, I knew how she felt because you hurt when your child hurts. And if you're a parent yourself, I'm sure you know exactly what I mean. Then I did my regular assessments with Sally and told Sally's mom that I can probably get Sally through my program in 10 to 12 weeks and have her reading at grade level within that time. You can imagine the skepticism in her mom at that moment. We completed my entire program not in 10 or 12 weeks, but in just 8 weeks. During one class, about 4 weeks into our lessons, Sally's mom was beaming with pride and happiness. And she told me excitedly that Sally's teacher had commented on the amazing improvement in Sally's reading ability and asked what she was doing outside of class. When we completed my program after 8 weeks, Sally had advanced 2 grade levels and even began reading beginner novels. Sadness, shame, and hopelessness had given way to confidence, self-esteem, and happiness. You might wonder how I'm able to take a grade 2 student that could barely read and help her improve 2 grade levels in just 8 weeks. Before I explain, let me say that regardless of whether your child is still a diaper-wearing toddler or an older child in early grade school, my teaching methods will work. It'll even teach an adult to read because the principles behind teaching effective reading does not discriminate by age. You might also ask, don't they teach phonics at schools? Yes, they do. Sort of. But if you place your hopes of having the education system teach your child to read, you're really rolling the dice, because many teachers are not even knowledgeable in the basic concepts of the English language. They do not know how to address the basic building blocks of language and reading. This is not a statement I'm making, but it was a finding published in the Journal of Learning Disabilities. Schools rely on teaching sight words along with piecemeal phonics, and this is the real problem. This is why so many of our children and adults are such poor readers. Did you know that in the U.S., 67% of all grade 4 students cannot read at a proficient level? 34% cannot even achieve reading abilities of the lowest basic level. In the UK, 42% of children left school without achieving a basic level of functional English. 42% of Canadians are considered semi-illiterate. In Australia, 33% of all Year 5 students cannot meet the benchmark literacy skills. These are terrifying statistics and should get you thinking twice about rolling the dice on depending on your child's school to teach literacy skills. Fortunately for Sally and all the other children that learn to read using my teaching methods, they'll never be counted in any of the above statistics. So what is the magic behind my teaching methods? The 2 pillars of learning phonetic reading is the incredible combination of synthetic phonics along with phonemic awareness development. You hear about sight words and phonics all the time. Occasionally, you might hear about systematic synthetic phonics, but you never really hear anyone talk about phonemic awareness, let alone teach it. I'll tell you right now, the combination of these 2 works like pure magic and produces phenomenal results. I'll share another secret with you. Learning to hear is the first step to learning to read. This may sound strange, but believe me, as you read through my program and see all the evidence to support this, you may all of a sudden have a eureka moment and realize, aha, this is the missing piece from how reading is taught at schools. This is what makes it possible to teach even a diaper-wearing toddler to read. This is what so many students and adults alike are missing that causes them to have reading difficulties. I won't bore you with all the scientific research, but I'll quote this from a study published by the National Reading Panel. Teaching phonics and phonemic awareness produces better reading results than whole language programs. Teaching phonemic awareness improves a child's reading comprehension, and spelling abilities. I'll let you in on another secret. In the Stage 1 book of my reading program, I have a section titled Developing Early Phonemic Awareness, where I share 2 incredibly simple techniques with you that enables you to teach children as young as 1 to 2 years old to develop very early phonemic awareness. In the section following that, I will also show you 2 methods of blending and explain why using one method is better than the other, and how the other method could lead to blending difficulties in some children. In another section titled How to Teach Reading and Present Lessons, I show you one super important technique that you must follow when teaching your child to read. The 50 step-by-step lessons of my reading program is presented in 2 stages. Stage 1 is the foundation building stage, dealing with the basic code, and Stage 2 is more advanced learning, working with the complex code. My program requires your full participation as the parent and teacher. And you are by far the best teacher for your child. You need to spend 10 to 15 minutes per day working through our step-by-step reading lessons with your child. So let me ask you, if the Children Learning Reading program works for your child as well as I know it will, how much will you be willing to invest on a simple, powerful, and proven program that guarantees your child will master the most important skill of reading? How about a one-time investment of only $49.95 that guarantees results or your money back? So why not invest that money in this program just once and never have to experience the dreaded talk with your child's teacher as Sally's mom had to do? Plus, you're completely backed by my personal, ironclad, and no questions asked money-back guarantee for a full 60 days.